Hey y'all, Robbie Falk from On 3 Sports at Maroon and White Daily, reporting here from Charlotte in the Spectrum Center as Mississippi State's basketball season comes to an end here against Michigan State 69-51. It was just a really difficult day for Mississippi State and Coach Chris Jans. The Bulldogs just were never really felt like they were truly in this ball game after Michigan State was able to push the lead out early and State could never really get back in it. It seemed like from start to finish. And it was a game that Michigan State really kind of turned the tables on the Bulldogs. Mississippi State came out, and the game plan was to make sure that Michigan State did not get out in transition and really control the ball game from a pace standpoint, whether it be on a made basket or a missed basket or even a turnover. And for the most part, I thought State did a pretty good job of keeping them in check there. But what Michigan State did was they out-physicaled Mississippi State. They were better in the post from a defensive perspective, and they really defended State well down low. Tolu Smith did basically nothing for the first half. He had 2 points. Jimmy Bell didn't score. I don't think a rebound was collected by Tolu Smith in the first half, and it continued a trend where the All-SEC center has just not been very productive for Mississippi State offensively. And that was a tough kind of end of the season for the Bulldogs to kind of see that progression from him downward. I mean, he really struggled in the last 6 or 7 ball games for Mississippi State. I'm not sure what the reasoning was for that. We know that he was hurt in a practice a few weeks ago, and that possibly contributed to that, but he really just was not effective for the Bulldogs down the stretch of the season. It made things very difficult for this team offensively, and they weren't really the same when that happened. And Josh Hubbard did a lot for this team down the stretch. There's only so much that he could do. He scored 2 points in the second half against Michigan State, and the Bulldogs got nothing else offensively from just about anybody else. 15 points in the ball game for Josh Hubbard. No one else scored in double digits. A huge loss early in the ball game. We saw DJ Jeffries kind of limping around. We found out afterwards, Chris Jans said that he was actually hurt against Auburn in the SEC tournament, and that carried over to this ball game last week or so. He's been dealing with that injury, hasn't practiced, did not look the same out there, and the inability to have a guy like that on the court and what he does defensively really affected Mississippi State from the three-point percentage defense. Michigan State lit it up. They had 10 three-pointers in the ball game. Your best three-point defender is out. That's the ball game for Mississippi State. 10 made threes for Michigan State. I think they were 10 of 23. Mississippi State was 6 of 26. And that's that's a lot of shots going up, and Mississippi State just couldn't hit them. And Michigan State was able to take advantage there. So dominant on the boards at times where the Spartans. State was able to make up some ground here and there, but for the most part, they were keeping Mississippi State off the boards from start to finish. And that's a huge part of Mississippi State's game. Tom Izzo talked about it post-game. He knew that it was a really good rebounding team, knew it was a tough team. And his team hasn't played like that all year. That hasn't been their MO this year, and he admitted that. But today, it looked a lot like some of those Michigan State teams from the past. And he talked about some of those players that he's coached over time and how proud they would be of how they played today. And that's what we saw. We saw a Michigan State team of old. We saw, as Tom Izzo put it yesterday, kind of an old school Big Ten team. And that's what Mississippi State has been this year. But on Thursday, it was Michigan State that kind of turned the tables, like I said, and was able to kind of play Mississippi State's game against the Bulldogs. 69-51, that looks like a Mississippi State score. When Mississippi State's winning ball games and playing their style of basketball, this is the kind of game they're playing. This is the blowout kind of performances that they have. So that's what we saw in this one, and the Bulldogs ultimately see their season come to an end in disappointing fashion. And it was a very strange season for Mississippi State. You expected this team to take a step forward, and they did. They go from an 11 seed, a team that barely got in the tournament last year and is playing in a play-in game, to a team that's firmly in the tournament, an 8 seed, with a chance that you feel like you're going to make a run in the tournament, and the Bulldogs just weren't able to do it. Consistency was kind of the issue with this team this year. They weren't consistently good on the defensive side of the ball. They had their lapses there at times this year. They were better offensively than they were a season ago, but you see the up and down play that they got from Tolu Smith and guys like that was an issue for them. So, I really think that I don't know if you can say this team underperformed. I guess you possibly could. Sorry, we got the place being cleaned up. It's just loud in here right now. But, perhaps they did underachieve a little bit when you consider what they were returning and they were adding some pieces. Andrew Taylor was obviously a huge bust for Mississippi State out of the portal. They expected some big things from him out of Marshall, and you didn't get it. He ended up transferring in the middle of the season. That was a huge loss for you, a guy that you thought was going to help you. And then you talk about Trey Fort being a guy that could help you offensively. He was good in non-conference play, and you didn't hardly see him in conference play. On the flip side of that, I think you got more out of Josh Hubbard than you imagined you could get. He's a guy that had 13 20-point games this year, 8 out of 9 games towards the end of the year, 20-plus points, one of the best freshmen in the country. I think you have a huge piece right there for yourself moving forward. Mississippi State can build around that. And, a lot of people are already in this fan base, already trying to will him into the portal. He's happy here. He loves being coached by Chris Jans. His family loves it at Mississippi State. He's going to be well taken care of as far as NIL is concerned. I don't foresee Josh Hubbard going anywhere. I think Mississippi State has an opportunity here with an electric freshman, a guy that's probably going to be around for 2 or 3 more years now. You can utilize him with your transfer portal recruiting. You can go out in the portal and go find some people that can help him. So hopefully that's the case, and hopefully they can go out there and get another shooter like that. Maybe not like Hubbard, but a guy that can keep him, out of the game plan 100%. Not a guy that you can just completely try to lock down and then nobody else can beat you. Hopefully you have another option there with that kind of guy. You got to go out there and get another big because Tolu Smith's gone, Jimmy Bell is gone. You need a guy that can score points and rebound, so that's a big piece as well. It's going to be an interesting offseason for Chris Jans, and they're going to get right to work. There's tons of pieces out there, tons of guys that can go out there and help you next year. So I think that there's some opportunity here for Chris Jans to improve this roster in the offseason and bring Mississippi State back to the NCAA tournament for the 3rd year in a row. But this offseason is crucial. He's got to go out there and get some critical pieces, some difference makers that can help this team get back. But this one was a tough one. This is a tough pill to swallow, but I think what you saw is a program that when they get to the NCAA tournament, they expect to win games. Mississippi State's still working on that. This program hasn't won an NCAA tournament game since 2008. Michigan State's been in the NCAA tournament 26 straight years, and Tom Izzo is now 21-5 in first round. So that's a coach I don't think we gave, some of us that are, prognosticating, talking about this matchup coming in, I don't think we gave him enough credit. This is a coach that wins in that first round as much as anybody, and he did it again today. So Michigan State's moving on. The Bulldogs are looking to improve their team next year, and they're going to have to start doing that right now. So disappointing end of the season, but State ends it in the NCAA tournament, and there's worse ends to the year. There's ends of the season in the NIT. There's ends of the season in regular season, or the tournament, I guess, the conference tournament. So it could have been a lot worse for this team. They're continuing to build their expectations here, and that's kind of the thought process now is your expectations are growing, and now you have to build on this, and we'll see if Chris Jans is able to do that. All right, that's probably going to be it for my coverage here in Charlotte. I appreciate you guys for following along. I'm going to turn it back over to Paul Jones. He's our full-time men's basketball guy, so make sure you're following him, and make sure you're over on Maroon and White Daily for all things Mississippi State sports, and also on the Maroon and White Daily YouTube channel. We've had some good videos over the last few weeks here, and we'll have more to come. We got baseball season hitting right now in full swing. Second SEC weekend is here. Texas A&M on the road tonight for Mississippi State as they play at 6 p.m. Or 6:30. I can't remember which one, but it's this evening. And also the women are playing in the WBIT at home at the Hump against Georgia Tech at 6:30 p.m. If they win that ball game, they will be hosting on Sunday as well. So I'll be there Sunday. If Mississippi State's able to win that, we'll be on the road tomorrow trying to get back to Starkville, and I'll keep you updated on that. All right, guys, thanks for following along. Stay tuned. We got a ton of more content coming your way as baseball season heats up. Spring football is here. We've already got some videos and some conversation over on the board about spring football. So make sure you're over there on Maroon and White Daily for all things Mississippi State sports. I appreciate you guys. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll catch you down the road.